If you're thinking about diving into a side hustle, or perhaps you're already juggling a small business on top of your 9 to 5, it's time that we have a real conversation about balancing both without hitting that dreaded burnout. And let's cut through the same old advice of set goals and make a business plan, and let's talk about what really works. Take it from someone that's had a foot in both worlds now for some time. It is definitely doable. And the nice thing about having a full-time job as you grow a small business on the side is that you are establishing your foundation for a vision and for a lifestyle that you want in the future. The best part of it is that you get to decide when you want to make that transition to going full-time in your small business. After all these years, I've learned a thing or two about this balancing act. So what advice do I have for someone like you who is looking to balance both a full-time job and a side business and also keep your sanity? Well, here's my take. Embrace ambiguity instead of setting clear goals. Now, this one is probably a head scratcher because you're thinking that's very counterintuitive, and it's probably the one thing that everybody else tells you should be doing, setting clear goals. The reason I'm telling you not to is because depending on where you are in your business, you may not have a clear idea of where you're heading. I certainly didn't when I started The Seasoned Marketer. At first, I was just dabbling on YouTube. And then I realized, hey, I'm actually going to create an LLC because eventually I want to sell courses, digital products, and can even start to offer services. Regardless of if you're starting your YouTube journey or if you're selling handmade products at markets or if you're opening a brick and mortar store, you may not have a clear vision of where your big idea is going to take you. So you're better off just starting to understand and embrace that there are a lot of unknowns down that path. And a lot of those are going to be out of your control. So the reason that I suggest instead focusing on this mindset is because I do think it's going to be way more beneficial to you, because once you go all in, and you say, this business that I am starting is going to be something that I am willing to invest my own free time in and to grow, and I'm going to do that regardless of what roadblocks are put in front of me, then I think you're way better off, especially because it also hits home the idea that flexibility is a big part of business ownership, right? And personally, I can tell you that in my own journey, when I started to embrace ambiguity, it allowed me to get away from this artificial goal that I had that was so short-sighted. So on YouTube, obviously, in order to be monetized, you have to have 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers, or at least that was back in the heyday of 2017. And so had I set my goal of being monetized and I had attached it to those two factors of watch time and subscriber base, it took me years to get there. So more power to you if you're one of those YouTube channels that got monetized really quick. That was not me. And so had I based my goals on just that, I would have missed out on my entire journey because I would have just relied on what I was doing on YouTube. Instead, I was able to grow my business, grow an email list, come up with digital products, actually launch a course, because the focus wasn't just YouTube. I started to see that YouTube was a channel and an avenue to get people on my email list, who then I could present other marketing resources to. But had I been so short-sighted and only focused on that one goal, then I would have most definitely quit. So just make the decision that you're going to embrace whatever ambiguity comes with owning your small business and be flexible in what might arise. Create a list of priorities. Now, if we lived in some fairy tale world, I would tell you that anytime you launch a small business, you want to sit down and create a business plan. So you want to have a mission statement, a vision statement, you want to have a budget and also a timeline and set some objectives. However, we don't live in that world. And I don't know about you. I don't know, you guys tell me down in the comments below. Maybe your experience was different. But when I first started my small business, there was no way that I could put something like that together because I was still trying to work through the idea itself. And as far as a budget was concerned, I didn't have an extra pot of money $20,000 sitting somewhere that I was looking to invest into my small business. And so what I did do instead, though, was realize that I was about to get hella busy with having a full-time job and trying to grow a side business. And instead, I came up with a list of priorities. That list of priorities is basically what kept me on track. It was especially useful whenever I didn't feel motivated and I wanted to just come home, veg out, and not really do anything. I think that this truly is the difference between someone who actually does want to launch and grow a small business and is serious about it versus someone who isn't, who is just kind of dabbling and saying, oh, okay, well, if I feel like it, then I'll work on that. Now, my priorities were a little more personal. So I knew that I could not give up time with my family and my friends and my husband. And so those were all things that I needed to continue doing on top of working full-time and working in my small business. And what this did is it helped me to assess where I was spending my time. So not saying that you need to be working all the time. However, I did stop doing some of the stuff that really wasn't adding value to my life. Aimlessly shopping. I don't need to be at Target walking around the aisles for 3 hours. That's not a good use of my time. Watching TV at night. There's no reason that I need to be glued to the television for 3 hours every evening when I could be writing an email or doing something that is going to help grow my business. Additionally, I realized that I was spending a lot of time doing things like accepting invitations to events that I didn't necessarily want to go to, but I felt obligated to. So you quit doing those things that are taken away from either your list of priorities or your business growth. And so it just helps to keep you focused, and I highly recommend that you do that early on. Learn to say no. Now this one is an ongoing discussion of what I just brought up, which is basically the fact that because you're going to be so limited on time and you have to use your time wisely because you're already working a 9 to 5, and then the only time that you have to work on your small business is either waking up early before you have to, punch in, and devoting time early morning. Maybe you get a lunch break that you could devote a little time to your business, and then the evenings. Those are the 3 times that you have accessible to you to be able to grow something on your own. And so if you're so limited in that, you want to be sure that you are not going and investing your precious time in doing something that you feel obligated to, but you really don't want to. So what I learned early on is that no is a complete sentence, and when I'm declining an invitation, I don't have to give people an excuse. I'm giving you permission right now that whenever someone's asking you to a happy hour and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I could probably use those 2 hours to devote to my business instead, then all you have to say is, sorry, I won't be able to make it. You don't need to expand on it, all right? Time is precious, use it wisely, and use it to do what you want to be doing. Accept growth. Running a small business or freelancing is hard, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 20% of new businesses fail in their first 2 years, 45% within 5 years, and 65% within 10 years. Y'all, just accept that you are going to grow and you are going to change as a person, which means that you are going to outgrow a lot of potential social activities or things that you liked doing beforehand. Be okay with knowing that what suited you pre-business launch or pre-freelancing may not be what's suitable for you now while you're in the middle of trying to get something up and going, so that eventually you can build the life that you want, which probably is working full-time in your business as opposed to having to balance both. This looks different for everybody, but personally what it looked like for me was not only did I outgrow some social activities like happy hours and stuff just weren't that important to me. I still meet up with friends, but it's not at the rate that I used to, and it certainly isn't to just piddle paddle around, right? So I want to be sure that when I'm using that time, we're actually doing something together that is enjoying each other's time. On top of that, the type of information that I was reading, listening to, watching all changed. I found that my interest grew, and a lot of it was much more in how to grow a business and things that I could be doing to build a solid foundation, like how to build an email list with leads. What type of leads did I want to be creating? I was spending a lot more time on information like that as opposed to just Bridgerton or, you know, a Netflix series. Interestingly enough, I also found myself being drawn to more and more people that were extremely optimistic and, let's say, doers, right? So people that were actually trying to grow stuff or had ideas and visions that they were just putting out into the world. The people that spent time gossiping and doing stuff like that, I just kind of stayed away from. And that's not to say that, you know, I think friendships are extremely important, but during different parts of our lives, we're gonna need different people there to support us, and you want to be sure that, especially during this time where it's already going to feel hectic and you're going to be very busy and you're going to feel a little stressed at times, you want to be sure that you are surrounding yourself with the people that are going to help you feel motivated and provide support for you and reminding you of why you're doing this. So be sure that you're surrounding yourself with good people that genuinely care about you and want to see you succeed. Share your vision. This one was probably the scariest for me because I was still working through an idea in my head. And I'll just tell you, coming from a corporate setting, there's this very weird dynamic with YouTube, with digital products, with people that are launching online businesses. I think there's this idea that perhaps they're not quite as legitimate as having a corporate job, which is weird because a ton of people make really, really good money doing their own thing online these days. But this was a big step for me because I was wanting to share my vision with people, and I didn't know how that was going to be looked at. For a while, like for a good year, I was not super comfortable with promoting my YouTube videos on my personal Facebook page. And what's interesting is that I had created a business page under the Seasoned Marketer, and I was sharing everything through there, but I wouldn't then share it on my own personal Facebook page. Over the years, what I've learned though is the more that you share your vision with people, regardless of whether it comes to fruition, you start to buy into it and it holds you accountable. The second that I shared with my family, my husband, my mom, my dad, my sister, what I was doing, then it kind of held me accountable because my mom, I kid you not, would call me and say, "Did you post your video this week? What topic was it on? Maybe I missed it," because she was actively looking for it. It helps you to keep momentum. It also helped me to actually gain confidence in being able to tell people exactly what I was doing. And eventually now everybody knows that I am working both a full-time job and also doing the Seasoned Marketer on the side. They are very clear on what my vision is because they see it happening over the years, and they see the website, they see the services, they see us showing up on social media, and so they're starting to connect the dots. Now, I'm not saying that you run and go tell your employer what you're doing. It's really none of their business. But what I am saying is that if you have people in your life that can share in the excitement of you growing something, sharing your vision, I think is a really positive way to hold your feet to the fire. Learn to understand how you work best. This was a biggie for me because not only are you trying to be efficient and effective while you're still working a full-time job and trying to grow this side business, but no matter how many podcasts you listen to, how many YouTube videos you watch, or how many blogs you read about productivity hacks, none of it is going to work if You are just not built the same way. All right, so it's great to get ideas from other people on how you can structure your time, or perhaps how you could be more efficient in creating content or in launching products and services. But the truth of the matter is that we are all individuals that work very differently. Our brains are just wired different. And so what works for one person may not necessarily work for you. I found this to be true in my case. For example, a lot of people will tell you that you should try to batch content, and so that way you can pre-schedule things and have them drip out and you're not having to do it day to day. That's perfectly fine. However, I can tell you right now that Vivian Walton is not going to be sitting down batching content for a month. Okay, that does not sound like a fun Saturday to me, and I will not be doing that. So instead, what does work for me is to actually narrow it down and do things on a weekly basis. I get in a good rhythm and cadence, and I know when I am primed to sit down and write an email and when I'm better off just sitting down and writing ideas. I also know when I'll have enough energy to sit down, press record, because I have to do my hair, do my makeup, and be sure that I show up somewhat presentable. I don't always feel like doing that throughout the week. Make it a point to sit down, be honest with yourself, and figure out how you work and learn best. Tailor your schedule to fit your needs and also to lean into your strengths. Use technology to your advantage. The name of the game here when you are balancing both a full-time job and a business is really to find efficiency in what you're doing week to week or day to day. And so my recommendation is that you sit down and you kind of do an assessment of what you're doing throughout the week, and you find opportunities to group those tasks together and see if there's any tool out there that can help you be more efficient with that one task. A perfect example of this is because I create long form content through YouTube videos, and then also my sister and I have a weekly podcast. We have a lot of long form content, long form videos. And if I want to capitalize on those and create short form videos for YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, or even TikTok, then it would require me to manually watch a 20-minute video and then parcel it down into a 60-second clip. Now, that's very cumbersome. That's not a good use of my time. But luckily, I don't have to do that because I found an AI tool called Opus Clip that will do this for me automatically. All I have to do is pull the YouTube link, insert it, and it will auto-generate really great clips that I can use for that short form content. I promise you that with AI and with all the technology we have out there, there are shortcuts, there are templates, there are ways that you can minimize these menial tasks that you're doing. So be sure that you are looking at resources and technology that can help you gain some of that time back. Find pockets of time. Now this one is a gem because what you're doing here is you're taking a look at where you have an opportunity to do something that will grow your business, but you're not having to give it full-blown attention. So let me give you an example. Because I live out in the country, I have about a 20 to 40 minute commute to anything. All right, so whether I'm going to the grocery store or I'm driving into my full-time job, I have a long commute. I have a couple options whenever I am in the car for that long. I can either listen to music, which I do sometimes, listen to a podcast, or I can devote it to doing something for the season marketer. Now you might be thinking, well, you're driving a car, so what could you possibly be doing? A brain dump. If I have ideas that I just haven't sat down and written down yet, I will literally just pull up the voice recorder and while I'm driving, just record into the phone. And so the type to text will give me all my notes that I can review later on, but this is a great way for me to actually start to log ideas that I have for future content or for things that I need to do. Sometimes I literally will just sit there and make a checklist of things that I need to do with the business. If there are website changes that I need to do, for example, we need to reformat the services page, then I'm going to add that to the list. And those are items that I could get to when I have downtime or when I'm in front of the computer later on that week. Interestingly enough, another way that early on I was finding pockets of time is I had a lunch break where quite literally I liked going to sit in my car and listen to a podcast or something just to get out of the office. And I like alone time, right? So I didn't need to be going to lunch with my coworkers. So during that time frame, because I knew I wanted to share video content, but I hadn't landed on YouTube quite yet, I was sharing on Instagram. And so I would take my phone out and record a video for Instagram. Now, that was about 30 minutes to 45 minutes that I had available to do anything I wanted to do. For you, that may look different. Maybe in those 30 minutes, you can pump out an email. Maybe in those 30 minutes, you can write a script. Maybe in those 30 minutes, you can actually sit down and plan out what type of TikTok videos you want to share to promote your handmade jewelry. You could even find time if you're waiting for your doctor's appointment. They typically will make you wait, about 20 minutes in the lobby. That's 20 minutes that you could be doing something besides watching whatever they're streaming in their lobby TV. If you take the metro to work, that's another pocket of time that you could be using. So just get creative with it. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself in a dangerous situation, so just be extremely cognizant and careful of that. But I guarantee you that throughout your week, you're going to find little opportunities where you can do some of the more menial tasks. Maintain a clear separation between your 9 to 5 and your business. You don't want your side hustle to get in the way of your livelihood, of your day job. And I know you can always go find another job, but I am a big proponent of showing up wherever you're at. So if you're at work, show up at work. I know we're all super excited and we want our businesses to take off, but there's no reason for us to be sitting there thinking about our side business the whole time and taking away from how we can be showing up in our day-to-day job. And I think it's really important to maintain good relationships. You don't want to burn bridges. So I'm always very aware of giving my best in my full-time job. And frankly, I have a professional job that I can't do anything but that. So I have to be fully checked in and doing what I'm doing in my healthcare job, because that's my livelihood, that's the requirement of the job that I do, and also frankly because I'm managing a team, and the last thing I would want is for my team to think that I was checked out in any way, shape, or form. So I'm really great at making sure that both of them don't interfere with each other, and I devote just as much attention, focus, and time to my small business outside of those hours at work. I also think that it helps with staying focused on the material that I'm working on. So being able to keep the two separate just reduces the amount of stress that I feel, right? The pressure to have to get so much done within a day. Once I'm logged off of work, I'm logged off of work for a while, and then I get to focus on what I am trying to build on the side. It also really helps that I love my full-time job. I've been with the organization for a long time, and personally, it helps to grow me as a marketer. Whatever I am learning in that setting, I'm able to take and to also apply it into my small business, because that marketing foundation transcends any industry. So it doesn't matter that my full-time job's in healthcare, I can still apply what I learned there into my small business. Track your progress. While I think it's important not to get bogged down with really rigid goals, I do think that tracking your progress can actually help to keep you extremely motivated. So if you do have an idea in your head of a financial goal that you want to reach on a monthly basis, then it would be useful to track your progress so that way you're seeing the increase and the improvement over time. Not just that, but I do think that this also allows you to find opportunities to change your strategy or to do something better, assessing what you're doing along the way, what works, what doesn't work, is going to allow you to quickly pivot and to be able to adjust. While the goal is eventually to go full-time in my small business, for right now, I am staying the course and still building a solid foundation. And that is what I absolutely love. I love knowing that whenever I want to make the leap into doing that full-time, I have that option because I've built and I've invested the time in actually making progress, putting products and services out there, and building my vision. If you're a growing SOB, small-owned business, and you found this video useful, stick around and watch this next one here.